Hello, Taki traders. Welcome to the 4th of June. Markets come off a little bit from their highs. Screamers are back to say, oh, it's back to the bear market. Well, technically still in a bear market, depending on the measurements you use. But for me, it just had to. I mean, we've got these negative fundamentals creeping in. There's a huge anxiety and issues around just what China's doing with Hong Kong, China trade with America. They both ban each other's airline with a bunch of other, issues they're working through, we're not really working through, smashing each other with. And then, of course, the protest in America where things were just starting to open up again. And then we've got this shutting a lot of businesses and denting demand once again. As well, we've had job figures released yesterday that came in it was bad, but not as bad as expected. But then there's more job figures coming out tonight, which will sort of give us a better direction of which way their economy is heading, which will then, of course, lead the rest of our markets. For the moment, though, let's look at a bit more of a technical side of things. The ASX200, as you can see, come off there. That was to be expected today. We've had this beautiful run up. I got out around here and just sat out. It just felt like it just was overbought. Sure, wouldn't be surprised we see some sort of continued decline, especially going into the weekend. People may not want to hold over the weekend with all that's going on. But if things keep looking brighter, I think we're going to continue the rally. I think this idea, people that keep saying, oh, it's going to crash back down, well, that's easy. We can keep saying that. And, if we're right, we'll be on the news in 6 months. And if we're wrong, people forget us. I don't know. At the end of the day, the money has to go somewhere. And with bond yield so low, with property being such illiquid asset and even, issues around that, is our equity markets just where the smart money is going to go. So at the moment, we're still slightly coming off this overbought on the ASX200. Same for the S&P 500. That's just come off a bit as well. At the moment, I've taken my profits on both of them, sitting it out to see what happens, and then I will further look TA and fundamentals to get back in. The one thing that surprised me is gold. Now, I was watching it today and it was actually down about here, and it's good to see it was come back up because I was surprised to see that it hadn't popped up with everything that's going on at the moment, especially such a low RSI as well. You can see before when gold gets these low RSIs, it bounces back pretty quickly when it's oversold. So this is to me behaving normally. I didn't get big in. It still needed to hit. I needed a slightly lower RSI. I needed a lower price just to convince me to get back in because in a way, I feel like gold should be higher with everything that's going on. So that says to me that people aren't really treating it the way they used to. Even silver had this nice little bounce up, almost a bit like a bull fake out. It's come back here as well. So for the moment for gold, I'm bullish on it. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next week it gets back up to these sort of, heights of, 1740 up to 1750. But I'm still going to stick to my strategy where I want to see an overbought RSI to short it or oversold to long it. I'm just not comfortable. There's easier money to be made elsewhere sitting out. But that said, if you want to take on a bit of risk, yeah, it's looking good. You can see that to go higher with the fundamentals, technicals, mixed depending on which indicators you want to use. Oil's come off a little bit. This is just because OPEC today, there was a bit of discord with OPEC Plus about how much production was cut. And I've been saying this for the past 2 weeks now. I think it's really going to depend on what are the real numbers between the cuts. And even OPEC Plus had said themselves, getting these numbers, who has been cheating the cuts? Oil will keep recovering as long as there's demand, even though the supply picture, there's still plenty of inventories and supply running around. And especially after that huge price down here, the rally looks bigger than it is, but if we remove that and we put the bottom in here, it's and I'm saying that just because this was a lot of people just getting caught with contracts and they didn't want to take delivery of the oil. So it's done good. Where to next for oil? It's really going to need probably continual development on the demand front, some certainty around the OPEC Plus production cuts. I think once we start seeing shale come back online and see the production come back. It will be interesting to see with the current predictions of a heavy hurricane season. The Gulf of Mexico is not as at risk as it used to be, though probably from a production and export point of view, and definitely if there's any issues with the oil pipelines that run out of New Orleans and around that Houston, around those areas, and then of course the refineries as we've seen around Corpus Christi and around those areas around the Gulf of Mexico, then obviously there'll be a spike then. Fading that, I don't see any prolonged drop off in price, but we might get just a bit more of a pullback unless there is this everyone banking on a second wave of the virus. But even then, I still wonder if the economies will just say we're open, we will do with what we have to do with. Back on natural gas, this has sort of just been edging higher. A bit of bullish weather coming up, but there's still that issue about exports that have been cancelled in July, exports from US. So there's still a lot of pressure on natural gas. And really for me, considering how volatile this thing can act, this is sleeping. It's just not doing much at all. Trading strategy for this at the moment is I've been short, just collecting my nice financing credits each day. To close a short, I probably need to see some pretty bullish weather or some sort of news. There is on the talk on the news about possible negative rates for natural gas, similar to oil, but that would affect more the UK, Europe. I still don't know. I still don't see that happening in American market as much. Time will tell, of course. But for me to go long, well, obviously I have to close my short, but I would need to see something a bit more bullish and probably reassess this. If at the end of the month things still trading around here, I'd probably look at closing the short and just reassessing, because when this is gonna run, she's gonna run up to 210, as I said yesterday, pretty easily. Looking onto the crypto charts, I drew out my trend line before. This is one that was sitting here that I did the other week. I dropped below it, but it's always amazing reading everyone's reports. People going, oh no, we're back to a bear. This is going to go back to 4K. Others going, oh, we're going to zoom to 20 in the next week. Who knows? But the one thing I do like is, to me, it's showing some strength. I mean, every sell-off has been bought back. Yes, we've got this resistance of 10K, but it's a big psychological resistance as much as a trading one. And this is trend line. I'm still sticking to this nice trend line I've got, which states for me, I think it needs to get to 10K, maybe Monday, Tuesday next week. At some point, it is going to break, and I just feel that if the longer it doesn't go above 10, is probably the bigger chance it does have going back down. But you can do some collar dust averaging, purchasing, trading strategy if you like. Just keep buying it as it goes down, accumulating. I still feel bullish over this overall. That's why I don't trade Bitcoin on leverage, because if there is a 20-30% drop, I don't want to get margins or anything and worry about stop losses and all that. I'm happy just to hold it, accumulate as it drops off, and that strategy works for me very well, taking profits. Ethereum's a bit high for me at the moment to get into, seeing if that, but any more drop-offs, look at this nice little bottom wick here, we'll look getting back in. But she's holding up very nicely. And then going into some of the altcoins, this came off. This is BAT come off in the last hour, but that recovered most of that drop off from the which was just following the Bitcoin drop off. I still see this as heading towards the 35 cent mark. This is in Australian dollars. So some of the other altcoins, I've been looking at BAT, so that looks good. Theta, I noticed, had started its sort of recovery off its lows. So looking at taking some profit on that if she just continues to rise up. A bit of a red candle, not a problem. RSI is looking nice. So just rebuilding after a massive runoff, come back down, and hopefully continue that sort of wave. And then the other one I was looking at was Doge. I thought this might do a bit better. Maybe it could bust out at some point, but at the very least, it's come off these nice little lows and looking higher again. So I'm continuing my strategy of buying the dips on Bitcoin and then just sort of day trading my altcoins. Strategy working quite well at the moment. I still see strength in the altcoin and Bitcoin market overall, even if there is a drop-off. To me, that's an opportunity to buy. At the same time, too, I'm still the Bitcoin I've been holding for a few weeks now. I need to see something over 11 to make me sell. I have no interest in selling around 10.5. I need to see something more breakout to take some more profit. So happy trading for the end of the week. For me, the forecast I'm seeing is probably a bit more the markets may come off heading into the weekend. Energy might come off a little bit as well, and gold is the unknown at the moment. Just is it starting to build up momentum again, or are we going to look at another sub 1700 drop off? Happy trading, and to all your profits.